Well, this is a map we don't get to see that often. And with players we don't get to see that often. That might be the theme of this evening. If you're not familiar with this map, the first thing to know about it is each player has a backdoor expansion. That's a bit unusual for professional maps. Makes your macro build that much easier. And of course our Protoss player goes for the macro pylon placement. Each player's main does have a Reaper door, by the way. It's just kind of in a different spot. Our Terran player Burny is a lesser known German pro. And if you've heard of him, it's probably because of the various Starcraft related software that the guy produces, such as the SC2 build planner. Oh, we've got a gate and go out of Vavin. Vavin is from Poland, and he likes long walks on the beach. But obviously that's true of all TOS players, so that really tells you nothing. Since we got a second, I'm going to try to show you where that Reaper door is. It's actually behind the mineral line of what I'd call the triangular fourth. Let me take a stab at introducing one of our players. In the top right, our Protoss player is a Louis Vuitton handbag. He is Vavin! And you thought I wasn't up on my purses. Google tells me the Vavin is a $4,000 handbag USD. Anyway, by the time Vavin's probe arrives, the Rax is almost done, but Burny pulls an SCV to deal with it anyway. Core goes down. And when it warps in, I'm sure it will be both sophisticated and chic. Nexus at the backdoor expansion. I'm sure nobody was surprised by that. Our Terran player Burny's looking to do the same, but Protoss might be looking to block. Nope, he gets a clear path. He just needs his 400 so he can put it down. Our Terran player is an incumbent senator from Vermont. And he almost sees the Democratic nomination from Hillary Clinton. He is Burny! And as you can see, his SCVs are working together in a very progressive fashion. Core has finished for Protoss, and it's the chrono-boosted adept with warp gate research that we are familiar with. Terran's going for factory reactor. Reaper's on the way. Terran already has an SCV scout in the Protoss base. The Adept is going to finish before the Reaper arrives, but we'll have to see if it stays at home or not. I think the SCV might be trying to bait it out. That's exactly what it's doing. The Reaper pops in through the Reaper door, and there is zero defense. Until that Stalker gets here, it is open hunting season. Vavin immediately starts chrono boosting that Stalker. Probes are dying, and the worst part is that SCV scout is actually getting away. The Stalker arrives after the third probe death. The Stalker can chase the Reaper out, but he has no way of killing it. The Reaper goes right back out the Reaper door, and the SCV did live. That stings, man. That stings. You wouldn't think a universal healthcare advocate would be so savage, but there you have it. Vavin's Adept is going to see if he can get something done at the Terran main. But the wall's already done, and Burny's already producing Widow Mines. Interesting, instead of going up the ramp, he just kind of brings the shade to the side. Oh, I see, he's trying to lure the Marines out of position. Oh, the Reaper's gonna get back inside. Oh my god! The Reaper just slipped into the backdoor expansion. This is terrible. Vavin really looking like he's not too familiar with this map. At least this time he can cut that Reaper off. Yeah, there's no backdoor to the backdoor. But with 5 probe kills for the Reaper, you gotta be happy. Oh, we've got ourselves a proxy pylon in the bottom right. Twilight Council's finishing up for Protoss, which gives us a clue as to what this might be. Terran's finished a starport and is now making a fast Liberator. Normally you'd expect him to make a medevac for those Widow Mines, but it looks just like he's using them defensively. Protoss has a robo underway. Oh, and here's his proxy. It is indeed a Brightness Challenge Shrine. We're looking at DTs probably with a warp prism coming out of that robo. But it's the Liberator that's going to be the first thing to finish in this rodeo. Protoss adding extra gates. The Adept gives up trying to shade into the main and looks to go home. She's getting chased off by a pack of Marines. Okay, after the Liberator finishes, a medevac does go into production. And the Liberator is going to be used offensively. It looks like it's headed for the mineral line of that backdoor expansion. Dark Shrine, halfway done. Protoss still adding gates. And Vavin does invest in that warp prism. Meanwhile, Burny's making tanks. You know those peaceniks, they're all about the tanks. Somehow Protoss has the worker lead, even after losing 5 right in the opening. which is good because he's at risk of losing more. Oh, look at that positioning. There's no way for that Stalker to get in there without getting shot. Vavin has to pull everything off the mineral line. Oh, Burny's just found a wicked spot. Vavin gets a second Stalker and realizes he can't wait. Liberator kills the Stalker, and he still owns the Protoss mineral line. This is just evil. Vavin warps in 2 more Stalkers. Surely 3 is enough to deal with a damaged Liberator. But meanwhile, Burny's sending the next wave. This is going to be followed by a Widowmine drop. It's headed for the main, and most of the Stalkers are out of position. Oh, the Warp Prism gets caught. Here's the boost, and the mine drop. 2 in the main. Vavin has the probe pull. He does not have an armory to support these mines. Oh, the probe pull was not complete. Burny got 4 kills. But the Stalkers are... No! The medevac scooped the mines. Everything going wrong for Protoss. Except that his Warp Prism survived. With his Dark Shrine finished, Vavin can warp in DTs. But Burny's going for Tank Marine. And he's supporting it with SCVs for bunkers or repairs. Terran has an eBay and has made 1 missile turret in his main. Nothing in his backdoor expansion though. Oh, those Marines are going to give the tank vision of the high ground. They're in range of the gateway and the core, I think. DT's in the backdoor. 11 dead SCVs in a flash. Protoss needs to find a way to snipe those Marines to deny Terran vision. There are 2 DTs savaging each Terran base. Oh, and Terran snuck a Widowmine back in the main. Workers dying everywhere on both sides. Burny's finally getting the cleanup though. Only 2 DTs left. Make that 1. Ah, defensive DT. That carves the Marines right up. Burny drops a scan to deal with it, but it might be too little too late. He actually doesn't kill the DT, but he gets the Cyber Core. That hurts Protoss bad. But at least Protoss is winning on the worker kills. Don't know if that'll last though. There's still 1 more Widowmine out there and it just dropped in the backdoor expansion. Oh, I can't look. Oh, of course I can't. Probe pull is late and there's 3 kills. Oh, but the mine is injured, so the probes just deal with it. Good recognition by Vavin. Killing mines with probes is super dangerous, kids. Don't try that at home. Great recognition by Vavin to notice that it didn't have a lot of hit points. So both players just gave each other a stunning uppercut. And now they're looking to rebuild. Terran did build a command center on his high ground. So that's giving him an edge in recovering SCVs. He's also almost got +1 attack done, while Protoss doesn't yet have a forge. I'm still waiting for him to rebuild his Cyber Core. He is getting the Zealot leg upgrade though. That's a big power up. As are the Immortals he's picking up to help him deal with the next tank push. Interestingly, both the medevac and the Warp Prism survive. We'll probably see them both involved in the next round of harass. Alright, Vavin realizes he needs a new core. He starts one up, and he also puts down a 3rd. Terran hasn't floated over yet, so he's not far behind on economy. Protoss is also adding observers. He's going to need those for the next Widowmines, which are being produced, though still without an armory. Terran's prioritizing stim pack and combat shields. Yeah, the medevac just headed out loaded up with 8 Marines, and it looks like it just missed that the Warp Prism loaded up with a single Dark Templar. There is a missile turret in the backdoor expansion now, but the Marines all left to attack. Oh, the Marines paused to murder the Adept at the Watchtower. Oh, and Vavin's single DT takes over the mineral line at the back door. That's a win in itself. Even if he gets no more than the 3 SCV kills he has now. Oh, possible interception on the medevac. No, the medevac got away. And Terran cleans up the DT drop. That medevac is going to have a shot at the 3rd or possibly the main. It looks like single Marine at the 3rd. And then everybody else headed for the main. He's going to get a scout on the blink research. That Warping Stalker may die, but he's going to save a lot of probes. The Stalker buys just enough time for the charge lots to get in there and finish off the Marines. The medevac gets away again. This has been a pretty awesome game. Both players smacking each other hard. There's Terran with his 3rd base expansion. He's floated that over now. Vavin sees no reason to stop with the DT drops, but you gotta expect Burny to have his defense in position by now. He's already got the turrets up. Oh, and a robotics bay going up for Protoss. He wants Colossus or Disruptor in response to that bio. Oh yeah, there's a tank here now. That's gonna make it hard for that DT. Armory going down for Terran, and he started +1 armor. Vavin appears to be going forgeless. He's going up to 6 gates. Eventually he's going to want to support that with numeric upgrades. Oh, break time's over. Terran's moving out on the map. Notice how Burny's mixed in Marauders. He's adjusted his composition to deal with his stalker-heavy opponent. Terran is out mining Protoss pretty bad right now. He's got the worker lead with the mules and he's on even basis. A single DT is going to look to see if he can get anything done at the 3rd. Oh, terrible luck for the Warp Prism. His path took him right over the Terran Marines. Those things are made of paper. Burny wants to bait the Protoss army into his mines, but Vavin's quite happy to fight next to his shield batteries. He'd also prefer to delay till his Colossus gets here. He doesn't have range for it though. Burny realizes his strike force just isn't big enough and he starts pulling back. Vavin chases him until he gets nervous. Understandable, when you've been dropped that many times you don't really want to stray too far from your base. Colossus range is underway, Terran's back to making Liberators. And Vavin's starting up a Disruptor. It's not Colossus or Disruptors, it's both. Terran's moving out with the 2nd force. The DT has an opportunity to get in while the depots are down. Burny with the save! If he slipped in there undetected, he could have done some serious damage. And now, if Terran links up his 2 armies, he could have some serious punching power. We'll see if Burny's looking to push in or if he's just looking to delay the 4th. Oh, this is terrible timing for the Protoss. That probe is going to be extra dead. Oh no! The army shows up, forces the Terran back, and nobody prioritizes the probe. That was one lucky probe. I thought he was dead for sure. The entire Terran army stims to get away. There's only a single medevac to support that. That's a high cost for a stim that goes unused. And that gives Protoss a little mini victory that it needs. Double Liberators get spotted by the observers. Did Vavin see it though? He's not oh, here he goes. Terran did so much damage with this in the early game and now he's gonna double up on it. There's no probe pull. The 2nd Liberator hits the main. Mass probe death at this point. Vavin's hesitating to use his army to clean this up because he knows that Terran's waiting in the wings to attack his 4th as soon as he leaves. Protoss has his probe pulls, but now his economy is in the dumpster. Nice cleanup with that Widow Mine with the Disruptor shot. But it's the Liberators that are doing so much damage. A pair of warped-in Stalkers are going to take care of the 2nd one. And here goes the 1st. 13 probe kills all in all. Those Liberators may have liberty, but they no longer have life in the pursuit of happiness. Oh, nice free DT swings here. He forces out that scan. Can you imagine that on your tombstone? He died, but at least he forced out a scan. Protoss is starting +1. He's feeling that deficit. He's also really adding to his Disruptor count, which could help him here. Protoss certainly doesn't have the economy, and he doesn't have the army advantage either. What Vavin does have going for him, though, is he's got some high-tech units, and those can swing games. Another huge stim by Burny. It's going to time out on him, and his medevac support is only so-so. It's a deliberate strategy. He's investing in Liberators instead of medevacs. He's actually getting the rare Liberator range upgrade. Advanced Ballistics gives you +3 range. You find it at your fusion core. And speaking of rare upgrades, Vavin's actually researching Shadow Stride, the Dark Templar Blink. That might be his plan to get past the depot walls. Alright, big clash coming up here, I think. There are no shield batteries at the 4th. Photon Overcharge could have really helped here. Oh, Vavin doesn't see it until Terran's right on top of the Nexus. There's no clash, it's just a snipe. Protoss is supply blocked. That is unfortunate. Terran has his own 4th base underway right now. And Protoss does not have an observer. Fortunately, Vavin's skilled with using his disruptors. He's started production of a replacement observer and he's rebuilding his 4th. Burny's actually building Liberators 4 at a time. This is very cool. He's actually got +1 ship weapons to go with it too. This is a really neat take on how to deal with the Protoss death ball. Oh, medevac snipes, those are pretty precious for Terran right now. The starports are a little preoccupied right now. Protoss is building a shield battery at his 4th this time around. He really felt its absence. Terran's trying to slip around the right-hand side here. There's a pair of Liberators in front to get a position. Vavin intercepts at the back end, but it looks like Terran's gonna get a position over the natural. Burny with the chance for another Nexus snipe. Vavin needs to make sure it costs him his entire army. No, Burny passes on the natural and goes for the main. He takes control of the Protoss ramp. Vavin with the blink up though, and he's recalled into his main to get the surround. Somehow Protoss has turned this around. Terran is getting completely cleaned up. The Terran supply collapses. This was the victory that Protoss needed. Vavin has his first supply lead in ages. Terran still has the economy though, and the upgrade lead. That was a terrific start, but Vavin is not out of the woods yet. The Terran rebuild is focused on Liberators and Marauders, 5 Marauders at a time. By the time Protoss can arrive to counter, Burny should be rebuilt and he'll have himself a very interesting looking composition. And he knows he can get vengeance with just a single Liberator going after that backdoor expansion. This has been a weak patch for Protoss all game long. That's that nasty spot. As we saw, it takes 3 Stalkers to clean that up. There's no space to attack the Liberator outside the Liberation Zone. Vavin is not responding to the attack. I think he's looking to focus on his push. He's marching right up to the Terran natural / third base. That is a lot of circles. That is like a Venn diagram on crack. Suddenly Vavin does not have nearly enough Stalkers. Or a Stargate for that matter. Oh, fantastic Disruptor hit. A Disruptor can one-shot Marauders. They're just not so good against Liberators. Making his 4th base a fortress instead of an orbital was big for Burny. Vavin is keeping up on his Disruptor micro. He kills the Marauders, but here's the next wave of Liberators. Please step outside the circle. I just love the pointing arrows that say, we kill things here. The Protoss attack is blunted, but he did get some economic damage in. He's actually got the mineral lead, which is surprising because he's surrendered his backdoor expansion. Terran is doubling Protoss on gas though. Wow, Burny has more Liberators than Marines or Marauders. I know it's not really realistic for Vavin, but you gotta think he's wishing he had a Void Ray right now. Prismatic alignment can just chop up a Liberator. The Protoss plan seems to be add gates and a warp prism. Terran's trying to get a new injection of bio. Liberators siege up, Protoss goes right into it. They're both holding the ground. I think this is geometric doom for Protoss. Great Disruptor hit on the Marauders. But the Liberator shots are like machine guns and there are no Stalkers left. Vavin's making Archons now. The theory being they can better survive Liberator hits. Burny's about to get +2 attack for his Liberators. He's also taken a 5th base. I guess that would be 6 if you count the one that he took over from Vavin. Ooh, math burn. Oh wow, that proxy survived 17 minutes. Oh, Vavin's actually getting ship plating. This is a really nice break from the classic Terran bio that we see over and over. I mean, it still is Terran bio, but there's a real twist here. Look who's back! Warp Prism returns, part 2. That backdoor expansion is pretty mined out at this point. Is he going DTs or is he just gonna go Zealots? He's doing Zealots. Oh, there's a tank in range of the warp in, but there's no Marines to cover the tank this time. It's a small trophy, but Vavin is gonna take his opponent's backdoor. Never mind, Burny with the defense. Terran's even picking up +3 armor, which is gonna counteract the +2 attack that Protoss is building. Hold that thought, Terran's going at that natural again. He's snuck right by the Protoss defense. Vavin's hesitating, he's not coming, but he's gonna wind up sacking a base. He's gonna have to do another recall into his main. He's getting in a position to do so. Gonna lose a robo as well. That means Protoss is effectively down to 2 bases that are still producing with minerals. And if this recall doesn't work, all the tech at the main is gonna be exposed. Here comes the recall. Burny puts his liberation zones right on top of the recall. It's a lot of Colossi to beat the Marauders back. The remaining Stalkers get outside the liberation zones. It's a successful engagement for the Protoss, but was it too late? Was too much damage done? A repositioning drop to the 4th. The Colossi can safely kill the Marauders from above, but there's only 34 probes left. The Protoss economy is in tatters. Terran is making Marauders 6 at a time. That may have been the death blow. Vavin has been so resilient throughout the game, taking the punches. Can he find a way to bounce back yet again? He's gonna try to counter. He grabs his entire army and charges for the heart of the Terran. Burny stims his entire bio and puts more Venn diagrams on top of the Stalkers. Vavin has to pull back. He's rewarded with free medevacs. He just doesn't have enough Stalkers to fully capitalize. But Protoss is absolutely on the clock here. Terran is just getting bigger and bigger. Vavin wants to find an alternate attack route, preferably one that doesn't have him walking through liberation zones. But wherever he hits, he's gotta face a fortress. In theory, he can outrange it with his Colossi. But Burny's not gonna make it that easy. Terran sees the backdoor rocks getting destroyed. He puts down the liberation zones. Battling up a ramp is not something Vavin wants to do. But Burny's Marauders stim and go down the ramp. They're hunting Colossi. And there is the GG. And that was a really neat game. I am thrilled that I caught this one. Terrific win by Burny. Certainly he won it with that sudden blow-by to the natural, but there was so much more to this game. I noticed that Vavin, for example, didn't seem to use a battery overcharge all game long, and it made me wonder if this was somehow an old patch game, as that would explain it. But the game has a playdate of May 2021. That's a key plank in the Protoss defense, so if he had it, he needed to use it. But the real thing to talk about here is the Liberators. How cool was that? Concord Cannon, aka Siege Mode, for the win. Here's the idea behind this strat. So, to deal with the Liberators, Ground Toss normally has to build Stalkers. And when Burny makes that many Liberators, Ground Toss needs a lot of Stalkers. Which is why Burny also went for Marauders. And the Marauders just feasted on the Stalkers with their bonus damage against armor and concussive shell upgrade. Remember, Protoss in this game had 0 armor and shield upgrades. Those Marauder hits hurt. So, how does Protoss actually deal with this? Well, I think the natural choice is this guy. Obviously, Marauders can't hit Void Rays, and Void Rays have prismatic alignment, which gives them around an extra 15% more damage per second against armored units. Liberators and Marauders, they're both armored. The Liberators can fight back, but to do so they have to unsiege and do their punny air damage, which is exactly what the Protoss wants to see. The Liberator DPS drops by over 50%. It's hard to overstate how bad the Liberator air attack is. They're supposedly inspired by the Brood War Valkyrie, but they don't fight like them. Void Ray gonna eat that thing. The problem for poor Vavin is he needs 43 seconds just to build a Stargate, and then 37 more before he sees his first Void Ray. Let's say 19 if he chrono boosts it full time. That's still over a full minute, and Vavin needs units now. The game could end before he gets his Void Ray. So realistically, you have to scout and anticipate this Terran strategy so you're not caught solely on Ground Toss. I mean, even some Phoenix could have done the job. They normally have a lot of application against Terran, lifting siege tanks and mines. For that matter, if you overdo it on Void Rays, you become vulnerable to a composition heavy on Stim Marines. That's the beauty of the game, though. There's never a perfect answer. But how about Bernie Sanders? I know I overdo the hyperbole, but I'm just going to come right out and say how I feel about this. Bernie is the best U.S. senator in the competitive Starcraft 2 scene right now, bar none. Not Marco Rubio, not Ted Cruz, although I admit his creep spread is quite excellent. Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Rand Paul, please. Now, Elizabeth Warren is putting out some good games right now, but she's all gimmicky 2-base timing attacks. Bernie would see right through that. Lindsey Graham, he wouldn't take a game off Bernie. Frankly, he had his best games as a 2v2 player. Anyways, all kidding aside, that was a fun game. I'm glad I caught it. I'm doubly glad you caught it with me. Special thanks to all of you who have subscribed. Your support means everything. And from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.